standing for a pledge.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to gather here to handle the business of Limestone County. As always, protect all our servicemen, all our law enforcement people, and guide and direct them to do a good job and to be safe. On this election day, we pray that you guide people's thoughts and so forth and help our country. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Welcome everybody to our meeting today. Let the record show that all the commissioners are present. Do we have any comments from? That being the case, we'll move along to our consent agenda. Y'all had a chance to go over this consent agenda. We'll open the floor right now. If y'all have any comments you'd like to make. Okay, if not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, let's move along then to item number 8. That's going to be to receive and approve the safety report concerning the accidents and safety concerns. During the past month, I'll ask Commissioner Friday if you'd like to address this issue.
I did meet with Jerry, and we did have one injury, a shoulder injury. I don't know the gentleman, but we'll leave that name. James. He was changing a tire. Hurt the muscle. What's the status on him?
We got a release from him yesterday that says to come back to work. Restricted duty, which we don't have restricted duty to do jobs. He'll be back probably in a couple of weeks.
Other than that, that's all we have. So, okay. I make a motion that we approve the safety report with just that one concern on it.
Second. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion is passed. Let's move along now to receive and approve, discussing possible action on the county burn ban. Looks like I'm going to skip over the reports from the county officials. I'll get back to that in a second. Let's go ahead and talk about the burn ban real quick. Mac, where are we at? Leave it off? We'll pass that item then. Let me get back up to the, talk about our monthly operational reports from the county officials. Do we have any county officials in here that would like to report?
Let the court know that Texas Parks and Wildlife has moved in out there in August, so they moved in last week.
Okay. As y'all know, that a group, Texas Parks and Wildlife, is seeking a place. Environmental engineer or something, I think.
Not sure exactly what it's titled is.
Okay. Any other reports, Sheriff?
For the month of October, we traveled a little over 4,000 miles for 134 man hours on at a cost of $4,900 of transports. We booked 77 people into jail, released 76 for the month. Any questions for us?
What's the total we got out there right now?
Our daily population right now is running about 120. I haven't got the numbers. We had a couple of things going on this morning. I don't have all the numbers yet for everything.
Okay, anything else?
You have a clue how many people in private prison right now?
And Judge, I know the answer.
Don't quote me on it, but I want to say we're at around 780 something. I should be getting that again. It usually comes in about 9.
Good check.
I'll tell you as soon as I get it in here.
Just curious.
Yeah, that's, and those are the, that come from the, Indian.
There are some from the Cherokees or Chickasaw, yes, sir. But there's a lot of them that are still marshals, inmates out of Dallas.
They both count $1.50 a day.
I don't know where they're from.
All right, anything else? Any other questions? If not, entertain a motion to approve the reports as presented.
Motion to approve the reports from the county officials.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's go ahead and move, well, it's just the next one down. Item number 10 is discuss take action on JP administrative stipend pay for the Damon Allen Act. I'll tell you what this is about. The Damon Allen Act, we all personally know what that's about. But what happened with the Senate Bill 6, they're requiring us to do even more steps involved in magistrating and setting the bail. One of the things that has to happen is that once the information goes from the dispatch over to the sheriff's department, or the jail, I should say. Then when the magistrates come in, they have their criminal history. At that point in time, they use that criminal history to make sure that they set a proper bail. But then there's some paperwork and administrative thing on top of that we didn't have to do, but we're now having to do. We had a meeting this past month, and the sheriff was involved in it. And all the JPs were involved, and we're trying to figure out who's going to be doing that additional administrative work. Most of the counties are are having the JP do that work, but that causes a little bit of friction, and as much as they're taxed right now with all they can do, one of the considerations is to give a stipend, if you will, to the administrative assistants of $150 a month for administrative assistants. And so that's what I'm presenting before y'all. I'll open up for any discussion of what y'all want to talk about that. But
And that's all 4 precincts?
that's all 4 precincts. What they do is each precinct is responsible for 1 week. And so during that week, the additional time it takes to enter that information into the database on what the results actually were. One of the thoughts was we could hire another person through the sheriff's department, that would be some of their job also. But with it being 7 days, it's hard to get someone to work 7 days. And then not to mention, it's not going to be enough work to keep a full-time person. So this was just one of the recommendations or thoughts that I had that we could accommodate, giving the administrative assistants a little bit more money in order to keep the state out of that today. But it's up to y'all. Frankly, if y'all say no, that, that's part of their job and that's what they need to do, then we'll go forward with that. But, this is just
So it's $150 a month times 4 precincts
yes,
for $600 a month,
times 12.
trying to afford $7,200 a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot better than full-time employee health insurance.
That's exactly right. And the JPs were good with this.
You would not put that on there if you didn't feel like this was necessary.
Well, I wouldn't. I will say this, Bobby. It gets into, there's 8 hours in a day. I'm not a big fan of giving extra money for the work you do during that 8-hour day. But on the same token, I know with the current law changes, the JPs are doing a lot more than they did 2 or 3 years ago. And they're in this Damon Allen Act, even though it's near and dear to our hearts, it's put a pretty big stress on people like myself and Pat Simmons and all the JPs. So it's quite a bit more work that they're having to do to accommodate this.
I'm gonna make a motion that we do a stipend for $150 a month for each of the 4 precincts.
Okay.
For the day, because of the extra work we do now.
We do have a motion. We're going to probably have to have a little discussion on this. We have a motion.
I'll have a second.
And we do have a second. Now for discussion, we need to figure out what we're going to pay for this. So I guess we could take this either out of contingency, or we can at some point now we can transfer unanticipated revenue into that line item. So contingency, unless anyone has an objection to that. We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 11 is discuss and take action on certification pay for the constables. I had Constable Forrest come before me asking that we consider the law enforcement certification pay for them. I see where Constable Shoemaker's here. Do either one of y'all want to address the court?
I'm here for something else.
Oh, you're here for something else, excuse me, okay, well, as far as this topic, you want to address it for? Okay. I guess not, then we'll entertain a motion to increase, or to give the actual law enforcement certification pay to the constable. Does anybody have any comments, one way or the other, they want to ask any questions on this? One last time, I'm gonna ask, does anybody want to take any action on the certification pay? Okay, that item's gonna die for lack of a motion. Let's go ahead and go to item number 12, and that's gonna be accepted for record. Statement of financial position of Limestone County, CSCD. This is, something that I think Randy, this is with the.
Yeah, this is just something we're required to do by the state of Texas, is to let y'all know at November of each year, kind of how we stand financially.
And you're needing us to approve this, correct?
Yes, sir.
Due to this financial position of Limestone County,
I move that we approve the financial position of Limestone County.
okay. We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion will pass. Item number 13 is going to be discussed, take action, and approve of enrollment of Limestone County employees in the TAC cybersecurity training course. I know Funfield's got next speed on this. Funfield, you want to say anything about it? It's just, this is where Chantel is going to be in charge of it. All of our employees have to have this. We're actually a little tardy, let's be frank with you. So, y'all want to go forward with approving the cybersecurity for Limestone County?
Make a motion that we approve this cybersecurity for Limestone County.
I'll second. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
You're getting us
I'm okay. Next item on the agenda today is going to be discussing action canceling the December 27th, 2022 Commissioners Court meeting. As y'all know, that is right during Christmas time. A lot of times it makes it hard to meet. I needed to ask a question before we go any further. What did we do last year as far as paying bills during that period?
A little over a year ago, y'all had adopted that resolution that even though you don't need, you still give us the permission, the treasurer's office and us to go ahead and process all the bills. So bills will still get paid.
Okay, good, thank you.
And then you see the packet in the next meeting in January.
Thank you for reminding me that. I could remember what, y'all, this may be a split vote, and I may want to meet no matter what.
Make a motion that we cancel the 27th, given the permissions to pay the bills for that month.
We do have a motion. Second. And a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now let's go down to item number 15, and that's going to be discuss and take action on a request to add David M. Bird as a reserve deputy constable of precinct 3. That's what you.
Yes. Good morning. Had a young man with only about 40 years law enforcement experience reach out to me. He and his wife have moved up from the Fort Bend, Houston area to take care of her parents in March. And he's wanting to reserve for me. I'm wrapping up his background investigation. Just wanted to come before y'all and let you know when to put him on his reserve and have that ready for when I do finish up his background.
Do we have any other discussion on this? This is primarily just a non-paid position that.
Yes, sir.
They come in and reserve and maintain their certification.
Yes, sir, and non-paid, I give him a badge and a polo shirt. And, he may do, he has all the training as far as court security, civil process. He's worked for several constables offices.
I move we approve David M. Bird as a reserve deputy constable, precinct 3.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm trying to slow down as much as I can because we have a public hearing at 1:30. And so I'm afraid we're going to get it quicker than we should, but anyway. Let's go ahead then and, on item number 16, let's go discuss and take action on, paying an invoice on repairs of a fence, David Wheeler, in, LCR 116. Jerry, I know I've called and talked to this gentleman. This was about 100 feet of fence that we accidentally ran over when we were shredding.
Yeah, it was a real steep incline on mowing, tractor just slid off, slid. Shredder was
With your permission, we'll pay the $650 invoice. Okay. We do have a motion to repair that fence.
I'll second that.
And a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So make sure that is- All right. Let's, discuss and take action on the following, service agreements. We have a service agreement with the library, the city of Mahia ambulance service, and the Mahia fire department came in. This will be, just our agreements that we do each year, and so I think y'all would consider approving these.
Make a motion that we approve the following service agreements for Gibbs Memorial Library, the City of Mahia Ambulance Service, and the Mahia Fire Department.
Do you have a motion? And a second. Any other discussion on this? Not all, let's say aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll skip our first public hearing. We do need to try to have that about 9:30. I'm afraid we're going to probably have to take a little bit of a break because we're going to be at the end of our agenda. Item number 19 is discuss and take action on new revenue from the acceptance of Homeland Security Grant Program 225 Fire MS Radio Project. Man, you want to talk to us about this?
Well, it's simply $100,000 that, got a grant for, through fire department, radios. And, this is just a mere acceptance of that grant.
And I will say that, I know he doesn't like this, but I'm gonna brag on Matt Roten for what he does to get these grants. Not only what he does to get these grants, but to make sure that Limestone County is in the best shape we can financially make for our communications. So that the fire departments, the sheriff department, everybody, our constables even have radios now, I think. And so he works extremely hard. I want to say thank you to Matt publicly for what he does for Limestone County. That being the case, y'all want to accept this $100,000 on this grant.
Move to second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? That motion passed. Item number 20 is we've got a search. I think this was a change in adjustment from the jail. And what's happening is we've got, Murray, tell us what this is all about. I think we've got promotions of people about it.
I believe this is on some promotions, Judge.
Yes.
We've had some supervisory spots we're moving people into, the people that have left. And we're also in the process of hiring a few more. We have, I believe, 7 openings right now in the jail and 3 in patrol. So we're back to hiring one.
Okay, this money is in the budget, of course, we're not appreciating our budget. Right now, so what's the pleasure of the board as far as, paying these, 2 people in the,
Motion that we approve the motions.
we do have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on item number 20? Not all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, right now I've got about 9:20. We're gonna take about a 7 or 8 minute break. And we'll reconvene back in here, to have our public hearing at 9:30 on the road closure of LCR 383. And, y'all give us a few minutes. It's waiting on time to go there.